There are around 6,000 burglaries, robberies and thefts in Brighton every year. Sue Elliott and Simon Alexander are on their way to one of them.
Things like the drawers here, you can move them. If you move them sort of with the edges as opposed to like where they pulled them out, their fingerprints and things like that in there.
Well,
so
we'll go through it, but all we can see that's gone is the video. I can't see anything else.
There's nothing else that's gone.
Not sort of straight away. I mean, I checked my cameras and things. They seem to be.
There's actually a fresh gemmy mark on there. It looks as though a screwdriver or something similar has just been used to push the window up.
We recognise that one of the biggest concerns the community has is burglary, because it really does. It gets inside people. And it's a horrible thing. I've been burgled, and it's a horrible thing to have. You feel invaded and soiled. And we recognised that we really had to tackle that. It was a major concern, and the rate of burglary was going up quite significantly.
Do you have the serial numbers or anything like that? We've got a computer. We log everything that's stolen property. It's identifiable with serial numbers. If we find someone walking down the road, we can call up and they'll put it through the computer, and it'll tell us where it was stolen from and who from and what's the approximate value of it.
Pete Cole, one of the A-section sergeants, has been called to help an elderly woman robbed by two con men.
But they've only taken the jewellery, all my lovely jewellery I had. I'll never replace it.
Well, the first thing is don't blame yourself too much. It's the sort of thing that could happen to anyone, isn't it? Secondly, what we'll do is we'll get as good a description as we can of the two fellas that have done it.
These type of windows are quite easy. If you look at the top there, they just shear off at the top with the pressure on them. Everyone looks at us as a force to say, right, all this crime is going on and what are the police doing about it? But fundamentally, everyone is responsible for doing what they can to prevent crime, not just with locking things up and nailing them down and making sure that people don't steal them, but actually going back to address the general problems in society for various reasons, either through sort of poverty or through need or greed or whatever. There'll always be some form of crime, and at the end of the day it lessens or weakens depending on the current social climate.
No one's been arrested for the theft of the video recorder from the house burglary.
What time did they come?
Well, it must have been about 2:30. See, but I would never have let them in, only they'd made the appointment.
Yep.
And they said they were builders and come to look at the balcony, which I'd had repaired.
Right.
Now thinking
They just spun you a bit of a line to get in
here.
here.
They kept me out there on the balcony looking at, being professional, looking at the cracks.
Right.
And the other one was wandering around. I mean, it was my fault, wasn't it? I mean, I'm old enough to know better, aren't I?
We set up a dedicated squad of officers, targeted them with dealing with domestic burglary. And we set up the necessary intelligence systems, the necessary response systems, and we started to really target it in a very methodical and careful way. It's extremely expensive, but actually quite effective. The burglary rate has gone down in excess of 22–23%.
You're convinced we're not going to catch this bit, aren't you? Eh?
Right, do, hope you do.
Don't write it off so
But that
early.
won't get my stuff back, will it?
Well, I don't know. You never know. You really don't know. I don't want to give you false hope or anything, but you really don't know.
Thin.
There will always be the opportunity every day that you go out in this uniform to help someone. I think however long you take at any incident, you can always do that a little bit more. And I think it's one of those few jobs that can actually give you that reward to know that you've, in some small way, helped someone. You know, it's entirely up to you. You can just function at a level of doing the task and getting it done and moving on, or you can spend a little bit of time and get something back from the job.
And at what stage did you notice that the jewellery box had gone?
Not until tonight.
So it was just this evening?
Yeah, after I'd phoned the man that did the balcony, you know.
Was it in your bedroom that you found the jewellery box? Yeah.
Well, that's where I left it on the...
Right, okay.
You might spend an hour, maybe 2 hours with the victim taking a statement, and then you might spend 10 hours, 20 hours dealing with the offender, with the paperwork. When it gets to court, the offender is represented by a solicitor or barrister, and most of the discussion at court is about what should happen to the offender. The victims still have to wait outside the court, very often have to meet the offender's family where there's no waiting room, who are last minute asked to come to court. They're the people who are not getting justice.
Yes.
there are lots of victims who believe that justice hasn't been done for them.
Oh, I'd know him again anyway.
If it came to it and we caught hold of a couple of suspects and we were going to put them before the courts, do you think you'd be okay to give evidence at court? What do you feel about that?
I'd have a go if I thought I could do something.
She's quite a spirited sort of lady, wasn't she? And I think she'd be quite a good witness, actually. You know, she had a good look at them. I think if it came to some suspects, I think we'd probably need her identification evidence with an ID parade, and I think we'd have to see how she performed then to weigh up her suitability as a witness. She looked all right to me, though. I thought she was said she'd recognise them again.
Police are still searching for the two con men.
Just a reminder that Operation Bumblebee starts today. That is the county-wide response to burglary dwelling. That was just a case of trying to get burglary dwelling crime reports in ASAP. I know you do anyway. Stolen peg tiles. That awful van that's in the backyard, it's full of peg tiles, and Mark Butterfant worked several hours overtime yesterday trying to find the owners of them. So if anybody reports to you 10,000 peg tiles gone. Anything from burglary?
Yeah, we've got a couple of things. One is prolific burglar. He's ex-Foreign Legion, did 5 years with the Ret Para. He's got no fear of heights. He's a good climber. He's suspect for doing climbing jobs in Brighton. He has been followed by surveillance. I want sightings only on the vehicle. Don't want him stock checked while it's the Operation Bumblebee for the next couple of months.
We're not getting the kids off the street early enough. You get a very small minority who commit a huge amount of crime. They get caught, but they can't be remanded, they can't be sent away. There's a great reluctance to lock them up, and they just carry on. I think there's a good case for some sort of residential community work scheme, just something that's going to occupy them and keep them off the streets with nothing to do. Then the tendency is that they're going to drift into crime.
But it's not simply house burglary that's the problem. Sometimes the robbery is violent, on the streets and with guns.
Hi, Bravo 1, you were calling? Yeah, just for information, it seems possible that both the offenders are going to have guns, over.
It's a robbery. £30,000 worth of cash has been stolen from these gentlemen here. They picked the money up in North Street, and they've been held up by two people with a gun. Hijacked the van. The van's been driven up here. The offenders have jumped out, taken the keys to the van, and ran off down there, turning right into North Road. Halfway down North Road, or at some subsequent point, they've got into a vehicle and driven off.
The Sussex Police helicopter is mobilised from nearby Shoreham to help search for the getaway vehicle.
Fortunately, we were approached by a witness who saw the van and got the number. So my colleague's just gone around the corner to see if he can find the bag with the money in, because apparently that was dropped.
Yeah, can we confirm that scenes of crime are coming to Spring Gardens, over?
Yes, we believe Socko has been informed and are going to the scene.
The female witness who came to us said they got into a blue van, and she gave us the registration number. She's obviously wrong, it's not a blue van, it's a blue Cavalier.
We think that the white bag is the one that's been dropped in Queen's Road and subsequently picked up by a member of the public, over.
I'm not a hanger and flogger, but I am someone who believes that if you commit a serious crime, then you should be put in prison. Not because it will make you better as a person, but because society can't afford to have someone who is consistently assaulting people or violating their personal property out on the street.
Roger, Charlie Bravo 1. Just give us the location, we're ready, over. Yeah, Charlie Bravo 1, it's Ophelia Street, Miss Gaskell. Yes, Roger. KB from Charlie Bravo 01.
We've basically got an address for the person that picked up the white bag of money. She made contact with the police station and said she's got a bag full of money, so we're just going to collect it.
One of the offenders apparently had a knapsack on, and as he was running down the road, it bounced out the back of it, and they didn't have enough time, obviously, in the situation to go running back and try and pick it up again. Well, that's the trouble, isn't it? We've sat there and punted out the information, and then everybody else charges in, it just gets into a complete hotspot.
There you are, it's like...
Just let's get on with it.
They can stand down. Is anybody else that can...
Sorry, I've touched it. There it is on there.
If you can tell us what happened briefly, we'd rather like you to come down to the police station and
okay.
make a statement, if that's okay.
Yep.
It's just that you'd probably be in possession of a lot of detail about the offenders, you see.
Okay, that's not it there, that's it there.
Is that anything to do with it?
No, that's for my
You
food
said it was a
on
white
cover.
plastic bag, but
you haven't got a carrier bag or something we can put it in, have you?
you can tell the description we got of the lady that picked the bag up, and also the size and shape of the bag is a little bit awry. And the bag was supposed to be see-through with another bag inside.
Yes, hello, Sandra.
The witness said it was about that deep. Well, as you've seen, it's quite small. And the description is a bit awry.
We're now in possession of the white money bag. Well, we don't know how much is in it, but we're going to bring it back in a carrier bag along with the witness, over.
Charlie Bravo was there.
Thank you. Is that all there was, just that bag?
Yep.
I thought it was Christmas, didn't you?
Okay, well, if you don't mind coming with us, we'll go down the police station if you can make a statement for us.
Yeah, I can give the description.
The hijacked van is taken back to the police station for forensic examination by a scenes of crime officer.
Follow me in, yeah? Yeah, I will, Dad.
The reason I've asked for this is it's proven time and time again that if we let everybody go home their separate ways, we end up 2 days later asking specific questions. Well, who did this? Who did that? Who had that to offer? And you find the uniformed lad inevitably at the end of the week will come up and say, I knew that, but we didn't think to ask him. Just talk us through that. What was said to you and what occurred?
The call came out. We knew that one was going to be there first, so we started checking through the north lanes.
A woman came up to us with a pram.
She had a bit of paper and it was there was a registration number written on it. And she said the two blokes had run in it, dropping something as they'd gone, a white bag. They got into the vehicle, which had been driven down to the bottom of North Road, and had then turned left, heading north out of the town.
I'm actually examining the vehicle's suitable surfaces for latent finger marks using aluminium powder. And then I'm lifting them off with adhesive tape for possible identification at a later date. I'll be working my way around the vehicle from information that I've been told where possible offenders have handled during the execution of a crime.
But by the time that we found out that it was a Cavalier, I think the helicopter had already been to Lewis and was on the way back again, so it could have flown over.
But if you look at the log, don't forget, by the time we arrived, at the very first, we were 4 minutes behind the job. 4 minutes behind him making that call, which would have been after the van drove off. So by my reckoning, he could have been at Coldine Lane when we were arriving at the scene.
I think there was some misinformation as well, because what a message came out saying it was heading for Lewis. And immediately then, I think the trainer thought then switched to Lewis, because he was just headed down towards the Lewis Road, wasn't it, rather than
blue van going to Lewis, and I think everybody's thinking, we've got this bloke captured.
Some people missed the point that where it turned left onto the Lewis Road, the road then forks and becomes the London Road as well.
But the main problem was there was too many people on the radio. That was the problem. Once people started saying call for CID, call for other support, the channel was totally blocked, and we couldn't even get in to say that we'd arrived at Montpelier Street to pick up the money.
There's some actual ridge detail here in the fingerprint lift, which may be identified at a later stage.
We have one witness who is saying that it literally fell, apparently, from under the jacket of one of the offenders as he was running down the street. Certainly it seems to have just been dropped as they ran away between the van and the getaway car. Did well, didn't they? The good news is they got away at the moment. The bad news is not very much. But, yeah, that's certainly the major part of what was stolen. All courtesy of the member of the public that found it, fortunately. So, Nice to know there are some honest people about still.
£29,900 was recovered. Police are still searching for the two gunmen who escaped with the wrong bag and just £100.
This morning's operation, which is called Hawk, forms part of the force-wide initiative on Operation Bumblebee, targeted at burglary offences. The subjects of this operation have been identified by fingerprints and investigation by the Brighton Burglary Unit.
As we get to the addresses, myself, Rachel, Simon, Mo and Brian will be essentially the entry team to effect the arrest. I don't anticipate any huge problems. As has already been said upstairs, this is essentially a burglary unit operation, and these two people are probably more into burglaries than they're into car theft. So when we're searching, let's search properly and make sure that we don't miss anything that is going to incriminate them in either aspect of crime. All right?
Who was that screeching?
I think it was you.
Was it?
Target 10 premises, negative result. Moving on to number 11, over.
Roger, roger.
Tony Pike's team has drawn a blank at the first target address. They're off across town to the next.
Morning security, it's DS Pike from the police station. DS Pike from the police station. Hello there. I think a colleague of mine, PC Flint, phoned earlier about a couple of addresses we'd like to get into. We'll be with you in 5 to 10 minutes, if that's okay. Yeah, we're just en route from Hove at the moment. Thanks a lot.
Ignore Brian. If we go to the gate.
It's the police. Can you open the door? Yes. Morning. Just come in a moment, have a word with you. Okay, you're not obliged to say anything unless we should do so what you say when you give me evidence. Can you get your gear on, please?
Brilliant. Yeah, I said he had guests last night.
Who's that on the bed?
Who's that?
What's your name?
Hiding under the bed.
Yeah. Okay. The guy that actually lives here was obviously there. He'd been in the main bedroom with his girlfriend. He told us that he'd had guests. He thought they'd left earlier this morning. And the fellow that wasn't at home earlier on was actually under the bed in the spare room.
You go and put your clothes on.
So we've got both of them, which is nice.
Yeah, Joe Bravo 112. We have another escort vehicle. We've got two prisoners at this location.
Yes, sorry, you say you got 2 packages at that address, haven't you?
Yes, yes.
That's what you get when a team midget.
Chance, just we ain't got a skirt on this time.
Police are interested in a car which belongs to one of the suspects.
Is it going to work?
Yeah, is it going to work?
A lot of stolen cars are stolen, stripped out, all the interior, the wheels, door panels, fascia, seats, and then the shell will be either left or burnt out or something like that. Well, you think every time you take your car to a garage and it wants a small part, a little bit of something for the facial, interior door panel, wheels, anything at all like that. And of course, a lot of the time what they're doing is trying to upgrade a basic car by putting the next model up bits and pieces in it.
Right, Tango. Vehicle left at Comet in Lewis. We're seen to leave the premises, but we have no direction of travel. Vehicle is seen.
While the burglary unit waits to take the second suspect into custody, Paul Steele has been called to deal with some shoplifters from a superstore in another part of town.
Hasn't happened at this point, I know that.
A customer has seen it all happen. He's trying to identify the culprits on the store's security video.
If you go back to the point, where I came into the shop and then play it, we should be able to get everything. Right, that's me coming in. Started from there. You'll see me walk in, okay? Now they were behind here. That's him.
Yeah.
Can you zero the tape so we can go back to this point?
Yeah, is the second address on this building?
Oh, turn it in with that camera. Seriously, I'm doing my nut, mate. Seriously.
The two suspects taken into custody in raids by the burglary unit are now awaiting trial.
So I actually saw the guy with the stripy sort of coloured sweater actually unplug something and walk to the far corner of the shop, and that again is what drew my attention. At that point, I then, started to look around for someone to actually to tell. You've got to do something because these guys are walking out with something. You can actually see them carry.
It's really when they come close enough to be able to see the faces that I'm interested.
But behind this counter here, that's when I realised they were actually stealing something at that point. I go off this way to try and get someone. But the car's probably stolen, is it?
No, it's probably just an old car that's changed hands numerous times. Nobody's ever informed Swansea that it's changed hands. So.
There's the guy with the sweater, the front. So he's obviously there saying, right, I think the coast is clear. And that was the point they went out. And that was it. Because they'd gone at that point.
They're so blatant, and they're obviously not too concerned about being seen. They must really know that they're on video. Hopefully they'll be caught fairly soon. So that's two video recorders, is it? Right. What's the total value of those?
Can you get me some prices? Yeah, it's about £800.
Right.
I chased them up to Sainsbury's and we got in the car after that and lost them.
Which way did they go? You don't know which way they went?
Well, they went straight on, down towards the level.
South?
Yeah.
And Matthew wrote it on his hand?
He did,
right?
Yeah.
Right, but I'll take a quick statement off Matthew then.
Oh, okay.
So they called you to the front of the store? Would that be about right?
Not really. Tony just came belting in and we went belting out of the fire exit door after him.
Right.
And they just got in the car, so I just took their number plate and they sort of just drove off.
You said you saw him coming out of the front.
So
when you went out the fire exit?
When we went out of the fire exit, he was just walking out.
He was literally coming out the double doors? Or?
Yeah, it was about 5 yards in front of us, just literally over the road. So he just got in his car, just took the number and he drove off.
Yeah.
Which side of the car did the man with the video get in?
Passenger side.
And you wrote the number down on your hand? Our problem is that there are teenage lads who've been allowed to run riot and had no restraints put on them. Eventually they grow out of it, which is our only real saving grace. By the time they're in their 20s, they start to reason that even if they're only getting caught for 1 in 50, the fines mount up, the time they spend away mounts up, and it's just not worth it.
There's good news about the Comet theft as A section gather at the next morning's briefing.
Cut long story short, he admitted that he went to Comet, did indeed take the video recorders, and in fact we recovered them at his home address. It was one of those fortunate coincidences that they were passing the information over the radio and it was outside the Hospitality Inn, and they followed the car, stopped it. They also got a large bag of keys out of it that was been using, but...
Recovered the video?
We've recovered 2 videos at the home address.
One man has pleaded guilty to stealing the 2 videos.